Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Well, Tuesday. I hear that things are looking a little bearish. Shall we look? How bad is it? If I can find my volume profile chart. There we go. Well, Treasury's down yesterday, huh? Wait, that's not right. Where's the 20th? Today's the 21st. It's like a day is missing or something. My chart's just not showing the 20. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So we had a down day yesterday. That actually went way further. Like during our session, it didn't do much of anything. And then later in the day, it kept going and going. Here's the SPOOs. Well, they had a down day yesterday. Oh, actually, there's been a pretty good recovery in the overnight session. You know what's something I find a little bit amusing is when I go on TikTok and there's like traders, it is showing me a little bit of day trading content again. And they're like, it's been ranging, which I don't really feel like it has been so much ranging. I mean, I don't know. That's a downtrend and uptrend. I don't know. But for a lot of the strategies that a lot of retail traders use, oh yeah, it's probably being absolutely brutal to them. Oil on the upswing at the moment, 84. Okay. Gold had a good win yesterday, huh? Silver looking good. That's interesting. What's going on there? Copper. Ooh, copper. Oh, that is juicy. That's a big upswing. And the Japanese yen lower. Did they finally give up and let it move a little bit lower, huh? And the dollar up to 100.8. Well, that is probably the most interesting dynamic that we have to deal with today, and I'm not quite sure what we do with that. But it's probably not very good for us on the interest rate side. It might be why interest rates are down. Or, I mean, interest rates are higher. Bitcoin pushing a little bit higher too. Oh, this is very interesting. So we are getting basically like a dollar debasement trade going on, perhaps. Yeah, let's make sure I got all my volatility levels set in here correctly. Come back over here. Add them to NQ. Okay. ZN. I guess it's a cool feature of Jigsaw, but I really feel like it's kind of like half-baked, you know? So how will yen pump / sell-off affect interest rates? Okay, so historically, the 10-year Treasury futures and the Japanese yen have been extremely heavily correlated. Why is that? Well, because Japanese funds and so forth are probably the largest purchaser of treasuries. So what happens is they basically come over here and buy dollars and then buy treasuries with those dollars, take advantage of the yield that they get with over the yield that they get in Japan. Because in Japan, they can go and borrow money for like practically nothing and then go and invest it in the United States and you make money from that, right? So if the Japanese yen is moving lower, that means that their dollars over there are worth less. That's less money that can come over to the United. Oh, okay, hold on. Are we getting a news event going on here? Oh, this is a good time to maybe turn the news squawk on. Oh, I probably have the speakers on too. I probably need to. 2 oil tankers laden with Saudi crude make U-turns in the Red Sea and head for Suez. Wait, what? That makes no sense to me. Am I? Oh, Houthis. So here's the thing I don't get with the Houthis is like, they're saying that they're threatening or they're trying to get the Houthis to close the other strait, and I'm like, well, what are they waiting for? Like, I thought that these guys were trying to close that down forever anyways. Like, I don't get. Oh, I see what's going on. So it's oil, and they were going this way, and then they decided, nope, we're gonna go this way. Okay. And that's what pushed the treasuries down, like what, 6 ticks? I don't know. Yeah, is it bluff talk? Because it kind of, listen, this is something that I don't know anything about. I just read headlines, right? I'm not quite sure what the real situation is with the war in Yemen and all of that, but kind of seems to me that Saudi Arabia has just kind of been waiting for some reason to just go in and go scorched earth on that place, you know? So maybe the Houthis are afraid. Because they've been very allied with Iran. They were closing, they were attacking ships going through there as a protest against Israel and all of this sort of thing. So I don't understand why they would be hesitant to shut it down now, unless they were afraid of the consequences of it, right? But I'm still like, it kind of seems to me that all of the oil is just going out a different way. You know? Let's pull this over here so that my bar down at the bottom looks better. Even though you guys can't see the status bar. Hate it when Microsoft kind of makes this little dot so you can see more over here and it takes up room. I don't like it. Okay, let me go back. So we were talking about Japan. So if the Japanese yen is worth less, that means that even if they do go over and borrow money from Japan, that's going to be worth less. They're not going to be able to buy as many treasuries as they could before. So that's less demand. Right? That's less demand from the largest purchasers of treasuries. Which means that interest rates go up. That's the simple mechanics of it. And then on top of that, you're getting the interest rates in Japan are rising, and so there's not as much of a differential there on the carry trade. And people that are in the carry trade, and I don't know how many there are. I mean, a lot of them already kind of got blown out. But the people that are in the carry trade get washed out of the trade. Get kicked out of the trade. And then here's the thing. They don't just come and buy treasuries. They also come and they buy U.S. stocks. So the Japanese yen going down can be a flow factor out of U.S. equities, causing more selling in U.S. equities than usual. Although I don't think that that is the dynamic that we were getting like yesterday. Seems like yesterday was kind of more concern over the AI trade. So that kind of leaves us with a kind of an interesting set of flow factors. Tuesday, you get OK activity on a Tuesday. We don't really have a whole lot of any meaningful economic releases or anything like that. We're in the later half of the month in that respect. So like, and we're in the summer. So all of the seasonality kind of says it's going to be slow. But then we are can still have concerns over the AI trade. And we've got the Japanese yen just careening down. Man, when you come in, you look at it over here. So like, let me pull this and we'll get rid of that. So when I come back to here, okay, and we look at the Japanese yen, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's been a slow move down. It's relatively tiny. Relatively speaking. But when you look at it on the 1 minute time frame, it's like, ooh. Oh. That's ugly. What if NQ pumps? Well, the NQ could pump and Japan not, right? So that's one where I would think, you know, if NQ goes up hard today, which I don't see why it would. Let me finish thinking through the flows. We got the Japanese yen, which is probably an outflow, and we've got concerns over the AI trade, which is probably an outflow. We also need to check gamma here, I think, in this situation. I would venture that we're still in positive gamma territory. Yeah. We are in positive gamma, but only barely. Only barely. And it was last week was the, yeah. Last Thursday was the options expiration. So we're kind of on, you know, fresh options positions. So that means gamma exposure could exacerbate moves, but I don't know if it's too heavy. As 1.2 billion that much, I don't think it is. But okay. So my reading is that it's probably going to be relatively tame, but maybe slightly down in NQ today. So maybe if I'm taking the trades over here, I need to take the shorts. Yeah, I don't like this actually. Well, let's wait for the top of the hour, but everything I'm looking at right now kind of suggests to me that the NK is probably going to see some degree of mean reversion, if not outright selling today. There could be individual stocks. You know, I don't have any more. I had a really good website for like earnings releases and stuff, but I need a good earnings calendar. You know what else we need to find? We need to find something that tells us about blackout dates. Like, I want to know both when they have stock buyback blackouts, and when they have employee blackouts. So if interest rates are low, they should go for metals technically. Well, the correlations there are a little bit complicated though. But I do wonder, so the issue there is that it's about real yields. So that's kind of like, are the interest rates on the treasuries moving enough to account for what the market anticipates are going to be the real yields. I'm thinking, though, that run in the metals yesterday was more specific to the metals. Elon Musk, don't worry about saving for retirement in 10 to 20 years. It won't matter anymore. I agree with Elon on that one. Well, he's probably saying that because of AI or something. I don't think so. I think it is going to matter. Maybe I think that because I'm investing a lot. Like from my perspective, okay, well, Jesus Christ could come back and reign on the earth again and start the millennial. But even then, I don't think that your investments just become worthless at that point. So this gets into this other kind of weird thing. So, why is it that everybody's idea of utopia is quote unquote stateless? So you know, communists want a stateless society, which means that there's not, like, people aren't categorized into different states or castes. There's not rich people or poor people. Everybody is just experiencing the same prosperity or whatever the deal is, right? And I don't believe in that shit. I don't believe that at all. Or like, you think about heaven. You think, you see, they're in heaven. That'll be a stateless society. Everybody will be the same, and just everything will be provided for you, and yada yada yada. I don't believe that. Is not God greater than us? So right there, that's a state. There's a state, there's God, and then there's a state, there's the rest of us, right? It seems to me that hierarchy is really just a natural consequence of the way that the universe works, and that the resentment that we feel towards hierarchy and everything is kind of more a function of, like, this world when we live with limited resources, and is not something that is really has long-term staying power. That it'll be, some people have more than others, but everybody has so much, it doesn't matter. So what is it that others have more than others? It's just a matter of personal development. Some people are further along in their personal development. So that's why I think when Jesus comes on the earth and reigns again, there will still be an economy, there will still be investments, there will still be... more like inflation and more destroys saving 95% plus people do it all wrong and end up worse off. Illinois is a tax haven state for the elderly, and let me tell you, it's only that way on paper. Yeah, that's interesting. Is there really the old people that want to go there? So if you create a state, who would have power to dismantle it? Yeah. Well, so I saw this thing this morning on TikTok that I thought was kind of interesting, and this guy was saying, like, um, the far left is not actually progressive, because really what they want to do is they want to regress to the state that we were in the Garden of Eden, essentially. Like, that's their idea of utopia, is the Garden of Eden with cell phones. Like, we still get to enjoy all of the things of technology, but, like, we still live in the wilderness and just live in the natural state of things. Like, that's the liberals' idea of utopia. And that makes a lot of sense to me, because socialism in and of itself is really kind of more like the natural inclination of people that you share amongst people in your family and people in your tribe, right? And the reason why we've progressed past socialism is because socialism doesn't scale to large societies. For large societies, you need commerce, essentially. Okay? So it's actually like a far regression back to all the way back to the beginning of the state of man to some extent. Okay. Versus what is the real progressive? The real progressive is understanding that commerce and free markets are a necessary part of prosperity, and how do we improve those systems and experience the next wave of prosperity from efficiencies and innovations in those systems. That's the real future. So the truth is, Seth is the real progressive. That's what it is. I'm the real progressive, folks. So it's boomers hippie thing still going on. Yeah, it's exactly it. It's exactly it. Greer was talking on TV, by the way. I think that was maybe a little bit of the back and forth that we saw in the Treasury there, too. It was just ticks. Over here in NQ, it's still pretty slow. So we won't be touching that yet. I am kind of wondering, though, if, like, the play for me right now is just straight up go short in NQ. Just new channel progressive set. Oh, by the way, I totally forgot. Vital said that last short video was funny up at the very beginning of the stream. I thought it was funny, but I don't know. No, it didn't do well on TikTok or YouTube. Okay, you know what's something that I'm finding really annoying about TikTok in particular right now? Is it seems like TikTok does have this thing that is like, we want you to post every day. I want you to post every day. And I don't want to post on Saturday. I want to post on Sunday. So it's like you lose the momentum over the weekend. And then the next video that you post is just, it kind of gets the normal engagement. What's with that? And then, yeah. So then the other issue that I had is I was like, okay, so here's what I'll do. Is I will record them beforehand and save them as drafts and then push them out. Well, some people tell me that drafts will do less because TikTok knows, oh, you didn't think that was good enough content to post it right that instant, so I'm not going to push it out as much. Maybe that's true, maybe that's not. But then there's also this weird thing that happens on my phone, at least, where if I save it as a short and then I go back and I play it again, the audio and the video are desynced. What's with that? So, like, maybe what I should be doing is, like, maybe I need to experiment with recording it with the native Android app first and then uploading it that way. I don't know. Ten ticks would be 1,600 and enough to impress masses on YouTube. Well, am I trading it on, no. What are you talking about? Try longer moves on NQ? No, because we're taking 32 ticks. Right? We were taking 32 ticks and that was 160. And that was on the full NQ, wasn't it? Yeah, that was on the full NQ. So I'm confused. It doesn't seem active enough for me to try and take that swing. 10 times 32. Oh. So yeah, basically what you guys are saying is you all want to do it. Hell yes, Seth, go for the short. I don't know if I feel confident enough in my read of the flow factors in the equities to really get a good trade. And the other thing is, it is past the top of the hour. I haven't seen any major flows come in yet on there. And when you have the open, you tend to get a little bit of both. You know what I mean? So I don't feel confident in taking a short here and being able to hold the stop. And then I'm not 100% confident in my interpretation of the flow factors, but I'm certainly feel like I've got enough to try experimenting with it, you know, and give it a shot, or at least pay attention to it, you know. And the question is just like, how much of a pullback would it get? I agree with the impress the masses on YouTube part. So I was thinking, like, if you made a video that just showed you getting filled on both sides in NQ, and then that's $160. And how easy is that? Like, a lot of people would look at that and be like, oh, that maybe I should day trading that. That sounds really easy to me. You know, they don't see all of the effort that's involved in deciding that. Okay, so let's mess around. I was also thinking like I should do it on a different account, but I don't get that. So I'm going to put the short in, and then we're going to say, well, you see that's 29.48. $32. So, geez. I'm going to put it as the stop as 2,000 right there. We're going for a swing. Kind of need to change the size of this a little bit. There. Well, I could already take the one ticker. You say the entire market is driven by oil? Well, oil is on the run today. They blew through the first standard deviation. Next stop, 85.50. Yeah, 85. I think that if it reaches 85, it'll go to 85.50. Like, it'll probably go to that 2 sigma. Now, the interesting thing is going to be if we do get the selling in the NQ that I'm looking for. And again, I think it's really, I think the reason that I'm really anxious about making this play is that it's a sell, right? I would much rather be buying equities in general. Like when you're playing for the sell, you know, like that's not as common. The other thing is that I, you know, we've been doing this one tick trade. I don't have any easy way in my stats to exclude this trade. So, but let's just say even if this does do well, we need to separate it out from the one tick trade, okay? We need to separate it out from the one tick trade in the stats that we're keeping for that. Well, not the one tick, it's 32 ticks, but you can always wait until the open. It's risky to take a trade 20 minutes before the open. Well, so if this is where it gets weird. I would say in equity indexes, if you're going for kind of more of a swing, that's not true. Because what happens is the equity traders get in about 30 minutes before the S&P 500 goes, and they start kind of putting things on, and sometimes that means putting on some futures to take advantage of moves before things open up. And so if you get a trend, if you get a good trend, it often starts before that open. So if you can, like, you take it at the top of the hour and then it trends a little bit, right? You've already got some profit baked into it for the open. And then that gives you more room to be able to handle the volatility of the open, right? And then if you're right in the larger play and you get something that trends all day, then you can just make an absolute killing. By the way, on this side, oh, that's interesting. I guess we're looking for that extended session plus 1 sigma on the downside. But we'll see when the open happens and what the numbers are going to be then. And I'll adjust it. Honestly, it makes me nervous, and I'm kind of like, just take the 1 tick. Stick with that one. It's working for you, Seth. You know what's another thing? Well, we need to keep doing it for like a couple more weeks, right? I'm very, very skeptical of that trade working live, and I'm definitely skeptical of it scaling. So that's kind of interesting, but I'm mostly interested in running a prop firm on it. So we'll see. And that's like the other thing is like, wow, like I could have taken it, the 1 ticker there, and just had that, and that would have been the one good trade for today on that. Yeah, we'll wait and find another one. Or maybe just not take that one. And maybe just not take any trades on that one. No, I think today should be relatively good setup for that. Now, with all that said, are we really getting that kind of trend before the open? No, we're not. Those flows aren't coming through. Treasuries sunk back down, though, and maybe a little bit of flattening. Risk comes with opportunity. That's one thing that I do like about messing with NQ. Let's limit it to just today. Is that you get to see you get much better MAE, MFE. Because it's more granular, I guess. You know, there's lots of trades that I might take over here in the treasury, and I might only ever get one MFE or one MAE, right? Whereas in here, it's a little bit more granular. So does that give me better information about how good my positioning is, my entries are? Orb flow trading? Oh, wait. We're at opening range balance. Is that what that is? Hey, we put the indicator on for that. Oh, you know what? I won't mess with it during here. I was adding another feature last night, and I kind of forgot about it. It's not popping up. Well, that's weird. If I can just close that down. Your MAE 0.4 tick. You know what would be interesting is to see, instead of seeing MAE, MFE, I'll add this in my platform, okay? When we get to that, I don't know, like it profits window is like way far ahead. I didn't even have that on my roadmap. I probably should. Instead of seeing MFE, MAE, what if it was number of favorable market orders versus unfavorable market orders? So you come in and you take the trade, and then like there's 10 times more market orders in your favor than against you. That would be a way. I think that would maybe be a more, because again, a lot of price is randomness, right? So if we look at the orders, that is a less noisy data series for us to do our quantitative analysis on. So if you take a trade and then you look at how many market orders and how many market buys and market sells happen afterwards, and you do some analysis on that, that would be really interesting, yeah? You know what? You need to make sure your platform does Linux. Oh, yeah, it does do Linux. So if you have Rhythmic data and you're on Linux, I could give you the platform right now and you try it. Or if you're on Mac, because my work computer is a Mac. You know what? The whole Mac thing was such an interesting experiment for me, honestly, because I've never used a Mac and I've always hated them, to be honest with you. But, you know, if they're going to give you a MacBook Pro, I'm not going to say no. Like, you can't get a better computer than that. It's amazing, amazing computer. And, I had some issues with it at first. The main thing is that I just didn't like the way that the facilities that it had available for me to, like, manage windows. If I want to, like, get a bunch of windows, and, get a setup like we're looking at right now, on Mac, I was a little bit iffy doing that, right? Not that it's great in Windows. So, but all I did was install some add-on. I can't remember what it is. It has something to do with flying, I want to say. Anyways, that allows me to have managed windows and workspaces with the keyboard. And yeah, that works pretty well. And once I spent like the first month or two, like trying out Aerospace, that's what it's called, Aerospace. There's a couple of other things. I had to get a utility to kind of deal with my mouse because the mouse acceleration wasn't right. But once you fixed all of those things, it just runs and you don't worry about it anymore. So that's been kind of interesting. But so yeah, I have Mac at work and I run my trading platform at work. I run it at work. So I know that it works on Mac, and I had to make some changes to make it compatible with Mac, particularly with the way that it deals with keys and stuff. So I would think maybe I would need to do something. Oh, I don't like that uptick. Maybe I would need to do something to deal with that for Linux as well. But especially if I have an alpha tester to help me with it, we'll put some time into that. You wanted to hate Apple products, but it's the best laptop you've ever used, isn't it? Well, I would say that on the hardware side, it's probably the best, but I don't know. When I think about it, you know, most of my other work laptops just worked too. I've never really had many serious issues with my work laptops. So then I think that there's three sides to it, right? There's the operating system, there's the hardware, and then there's the laptop. Okay. So like the laptop, meaning like the laptop is made out of magnesium. You know, what is the hinge on the screen like? What is the screen like? What are the keys on the screen? I don't even use those things. I'm always just plugging it in, but still those sorts of things do matter. And I'm gonna say that I still like the Lenovo X1 Carbon more. Like the small form factor, it's light, it's still really durable. There's a couple of little things about the way that it's shaped and it feels that I like better on the Lenovo. Even though I think the quality and the craftsmanship, if you will, on the Mac is better. Mouse acceleration is the worst thing. Everyone go read this. Go search in your settings for enhance pointer precision. That's mouse acceleration. Turn it off and you will do better. It's wild how Windows decided all people totally wanted mouse acceleration and made it default. When it's proven bad for people, makes you inaccurate and unable to develop any muscle memory. Bad? Oh, it's not. It's not that bad. I mean, you can develop muscle memory, but maybe be better if you were consciously aware that that's what it was doing, right? But most gamers turn it off. Yeah. Ooh, so have we had more unfavorable excursion than favorable excursion now? Yes, we've had 50 against and 45 for. So I don't like that right there. I don't like that. But we're going to hold it to the targets. You can repeatedly test it and it makes all people worse. Well, no, I don't think that's a fair test, though, because, like, hardly anybody plays with acceleration. Okay. Like, if you went and you took a hardcore gamer that's playing it all the time, and then they used mouse acceleration, and acceleration on, acceleration off, and then test it. Because I think the question is there something about acceleration that because it's really actually hand-eye coordination. That's the thing that I think is really weird. At least that's what the science that I've looked at says. Like a lot of gamers think, okay, you've got to play with the same DPI and everything so that you build the muscle memory. And everything that I've seen says that actually it's just developing the hand-eye coordination. And that the more that you play, the more that your hand-eye coordination gets better. And that you can take these guys that have, you know, especially the ones that have a really low mouse sensitivity, so that they have to move the mouse really far for it to do stuff like the Counter-Strike players do. You can go and you can change those numbers, and it takes them like a day to adjust, and they're fine. So does the mouse acceleration affect your ability to develop that hand-eye coordination? It's an interesting question. But I've seen this. There's this utility that allows you to like change the mouse acceleration, and their argument was that it's not actually mouse acceleration isn't the problem. It's Microsoft's implementation of mouse acceleration that's the problem. We are getting some ugly selling in the treasuries now. And is that because of the Japanese yen continuing to fall? I think it might be. So far, the equities haven't reacted to that, but that could continue. That could cause some outflows out of equities too. So CS players, no, I wouldn't say it's very common among CS players. So the place where the mouse acceleration issue becomes interesting was more for games like Quake, because in Quake you need the ability to both like do complete 360 to look completely around you, and you need very high accuracy as well. Whereas in CS, it's really much more about the accuracy. Accuracy and reaction time. So as long as you can, boom, it's fine. But for Quake, you have that low of a mouse sensitivity. It just, people will dance circles around you and kill you that way. So then it's like, well, but if you have mouse acceleration. And so, ooh, that sucks right there. So what this utility does is it allows you to change something. So for instance, you can say the mouse acceleration doesn't kick in unless you do a certain speed. And it can even be granular. It can be like two speed. There's the slow speed and there's the fast speed. That way, when I need to do a 360, I do the fast speed. And when I need to do the slow one, I do the slow speed. It's interesting. That's not the way that I don't use acceleration, and I feel like I'm too old to really spend a lot of time trying to develop that, but maybe there's people out there that play that way. Man, the treasuries are just getting killed. I wonder though if, I mean, the NASDAQ did pop up a little bit there, right? Yeah, if anything, on Windows it doesn't work and it needs off, yeah. But I'm just saying, like, we don't, I don't think that there's a very good data about, like, is mouse acceleration itself the problem? And the reason I say that is because there have been some gamers that have kind of done some studies on things like what is the best mouse response measured in like how many inches you have to move your mouse to do a full 360 or to do a full 180, and then they would do stuff like have them change and play for a week at a randomly slightly different amount, and they found that most people adjusted just fine, and that the amount that it impacted them past a week was like negligible. So my takeaway from that is that when it comes to mouse control, your motor control and your hand-eye coordination is what matters. Which also suggests that doing things like playing catch will probably complement your mouse accuracy. Is another weird theory that you'd get off of that. Could talk all day about screen resolutions and quality, especially for phones. We hold phones at the range times the resolution. So weirdly, that means no higher resolution than 2K for most part. 4K won't be on phones as much. Most phones are still FHD. Yeah. Well, you've seen this whole thing where, like, they're starting to push 8K televisions, but, like, I don't think you're ever going to see people buy them. I think people would rather have the better contrast and the better color than 8K, for instance. Okay. So what we're getting right now in the spoos is exactly the sort of thing that I was nervous about, right? The ultimate trade may still work out, that we get some mean reversion to the downside, but how much of an excursion against you are you going to get? And especially if they're able to push all the way up to where my stop is, which I think is pretty far up there, although it's kind of hard for me to judge, right? You know, I would be a little bit bewildered, but that's equity indexes, you know? Okay, so here's the open. There's a little bit of buying just ahead of that, at least in the NQ, but then the sellers maybe kind of clamped that down on it. Oh, they want my stop so bad. Can you imagine if I was using the regular DOM, that little move down there would have been looked so dramatic. Iceberg at 200. I shouldn't say that. I should say refreshing in the 200 area. Or absorption in the 200 area, not an iceberg, because I can't really explicitly see that it's an iceberg with the way that I have the DOM set up right now. Treasuries have gotten to an area where I expect that it should be difficult for them to continue down beyond that, so we'll see how that goes. Okay. The yen is changing the correlation game today. Oh, good morning, Amir. Hey, by the way, Amir, when you tested my GUI, and you're having issues with the licensing and you got it to work, how did you fix it? Did you use a proxy? I could break even, yeah. We're gonna hold it. We're gonna hold to the trade. It is ultimately an experiment. So far, though, we're not getting very much in the way of favorable excursion, are we? There was quite a bit of unfavorable excursion at the beginning there, but now that we're below my entry, it's kind of slowed down a little bit again. And I do kind of, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on, what is it? How do I turn it on? I want the, man, I don't even know what they call it. This thing? Strength meter. I want the strength meter. Reset. Put it this way. Okay. They look fairly balanced at the moment. So far in the equities, not a whole lot of the kind of flow that I want to see yet, right? because I'm expecting to see an imbalance in favor of market selling. Not like a huge sell, but probably more some kind of a mean reversion sort of play. Okay, that's a little bit better. You think it'll work out as long as they don't retest them highs? Yeah. So like, let me think back on it, because there was definitely the things that I was thinking about. Sometimes there are things that you're kind of considering that you might not be as consciously aware of. I was thinking all of the flow factors that I'm thinking about today are negative. But I think the other thing that was there is that we were pretty close to +2 sigma for the extended session. So I was also thinking, it should be really, really hard for them to get even more market orders here without some sort of really strong catalyst. So yeah, I wouldn't count out the possibility of them testing the highs again. But even if they do, it will be like a brief test and then they'll come back down, I think. The Rhythmic demo didn't connect to the platform through our trader. The license was activated automatically, but when I clicked check license, it couldn't connect to the server. That's a little weird. So, I had somebody else in Germany try it, and they couldn't they couldn't authenticate with the licensed server either. Now, the licensed server is like a brand new thing. I'm still kind of testing it. But the stuff that I was seeing from him was kind of weird, because it was like it was resolving and it was connecting to it, but then it just was not getting the TLS was just getting dropped. It was almost like their ISP was killing it or something. Yeah. So I'm kind of a little bit like frustrated that like the two people that I've had try it had issues with the licensing and weren't able to actually use the actual platform. But neither of you were in the US. So I guess I need I need an alpha tester, somebody who has Rhythmic that's in the US. That's not me. Because I don't know. I mean, I test it outside of my local network. Because the thing is the licensed server is over here in my house, right? I could I go to work and I test it from work and it works fine. But it would be nice to have somebody like in Chicago do it or something like that, you know? Well, I don't know. So when you look at the imbalance, 5,000 versus 3,000, so it's in favor of sellers. But price hasn't moved too much. If anything, price is slightly higher. So it kind of suggests to me that at least in the futures, they're selling it, but that it's not moving. Maybe if we get another low, that will establish more of a downtrend and it'll make it a little easier. But so far, it's fighting a lot more than I would like. And the treasuries continued to push. Are you kidding me? Sirens sounded in Bahrain 7 minutes ago. Ouch. So, well, I think that below this price, I don't think that that's the open for this session. But, like, this has already turned into quite the bender in the 10-year treasury. it's also a little curious that the treasury is reacting and the other ones are not. So we might say that that's because of geopolitical concerns. But if it was because of geopolitical concerns, shouldn't the S&P 500 be selling off? Shouldn't oil be buying up and all of that? So I think that it probably has more to do with what's going on in Japan. Now, if it is what's going on in Japan, you could see a pretty big sell flow come into the equities after the fact. Because what'll happen is they'll do it in the treasuries and then they'll do it over here. So for usually it's you buy the treasuries and then you sell the equities. But I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Very unexpected there. In the treasuries. I guess I didn't analyze the treasuries as much. I'm not as focused on it at the moment. But there's a pretty strong flow to the downside in the treasury. So kind of out of nowhere. So where does the money go now? Well, I think in this case, it's kind of more like some money evaporated. Does that make sense? A little bit of money evaporated from these guys that were doing the carry trade. And then we're going to see, does money come out of equities and go into the dollar? Is the one that we should be looking at. So you notice, by the way, that the dollar index is kind of at a key point right there. No, it's not. It's not impossible for money to evaporate, unfortunately. So like, because a lot of money is just money on paper, right? And then if the valuation of the asset changes, then it just changes. And there's nothing that says that like all cash has to be conserved. So some money can be destroyed. And one of the big things that happens when you have like a big, let's call it a market crash. When you have an equities market crash, that's like actual money is being destroyed. Which is part of why they have to print more, right? Money comes out of the system, there's less money around for people. What are you going to do? Because it's more people fighting over the same amount of money. Federal Reserve has to inject more. I need to stop looking at the treasury the treasury charts because it makes it look so bad. We need to look at it from a higher picture. You know? Take a higher level view, and does that look as bad? No, that still looks pretty bad when they take a higher level view. But are they gonna go all the way to 17? Okay, 17 would be regular session minus 2 sigma. Would be past minus 2 sigma. So that's a hard sell for them. But they've been getting enough flow, it's entirely within the realm of possibilities. I think this is a situation where I wouldn't be placing bets on the sigmas holding. This is the kind of situation where they could outperform the volatility. I mean, there was nothing in the options or anything like that. They were pricing that much of a move in the, expecting that strong of a move in the treasuries anyways. So NQ not doing well, ranging and chewing, but still looking negative. Yeah, well, so look, we've had 12,000 sells and 8,000 buys. So it is slightly negative, only by like what, 5% more selling, but it's not actually moving the needle. Oh, you can't even see that. What if I put it up here? Despite the rise in oil, ES didn't see a significant drop. Well, that's a good point, Amir. The equities have not been as responsive to the moves in oil as of yet. Although, that's the sort of thing that could flip really, really quickly. Like, if oil decided today to go and take that jump up. So remember, we were saying 85. They're like, oh, just barely. Like 10 cents away from 85, but I was saying based on volatility, they might be able to get 85.50. Okay. So if you start getting a spike in oil like that, then the equities definitely will sell off, right? Okay, so there's a massive iceberg at 19 in the treasuries. So you're probably going to get some rebalancing kind of behavior around 19, and we may start to see that low latent liquidity in the 19 area. Something to keep an eye on. Here's the NASDAQ testing the low. Is that a new low? I think yes. Barely. They're going to have to test that a little harder than that. The stream is so much more interesting with the running trade. It really is. Well, you know, it's not just that we have a trade on, though. The situation itself is interesting, isn't it? I tell you what, though, if this works, I feel that's a really big feather in the cap of flow factor trading, huh? Yeah. But let's not count our chickens before they hatch. It's still kind of being a little iffy there at the low. Like I was kind of hoping that if they broke a new low, that would kind of shift the balance, and then you would start to see accelerated selling. But that hasn't happened yet. They're going to have to take another step or two lower for that to happen, I think. You know, the spoos are still kind of like, you know, it's just a low or not. They've got to get like below 75.06 or so. I'm kind of looking for that. Well, not that I'm looking for, but something I'm paying attention to is that 29.088, which would be 1,600 in profit, just because that would be equal to the amount of unfavorable excursion that I had. So I was able to hold it for an equal amount of favorable and unfavorable excursion. Good. Then if I can get double the favorable excursion, then we're really pocketing. Let's see, our prop wouldn't survive that 1250 max drawdown. Yeah. Well, I mean, it depends on the prop firm, yeah. I think you're right. So some prop firms don't count it until the day closes. So for those ones that you know, allow you to keep trading and you can go beyond the daily limit, but if you end the day below the daily limit, then you're ended. But I don't know. There's all these kinds of weird rules, right? And they're all different. So I don't know which prop firm you would want to run it on. But I'm just kind of sitting here going like, okay, so could you just come in and take a swing in the NQ every day and have give yourself a $2,000 stop and a $3,000 target and just wait for it to hit every day and if they don't have a consistency rule, you pass it in one trade, right? Okay, so where's my position window? Okay, so it actually says I've had 314 adverse and 288 favorable, so I needed to go a little bit further before I'm equal on those. Still seeing a lot of absorption there in the 10-year treasury. 19.5. Although, what's going on here? Because the 30-year bounced hard. I think what might be going on is the trouble in the Japanese yen is leading to a flattener in the yield curve. And so they sold all of these things and then they turned around and they buy ZB. So this is where things get really interesting. Is like, okay, and I don't completely understand this stuff, but you can kind of game it out and see how this kind of stuff works, right? So if we have impact, right, I'd come in here and I trade a bunch of 10-year treasuries and sell it down, and that causes the whole yield curve to come down. Well, then I can turn around and I can buy my ZB and I will get a better price on my ZB, right? So I'm using my impact on a multi-leg trade to give myself better positioning on the second leg of my trade. Isn't that interesting? You wouldn't want to execute it at the same time necessarily because, well, you know that the ZB is going to get dragged down by my selling in CN, so why not just wait? But it might be more than that because, I don't know, like only ZB came back up. And you would maybe want to wait for this kind of low latent liquidity area to become more established before you start buying in the 30-year in the hopes that you can buy it all in that zone. Man, and by the way, the NQ came right back to our entry, so... What if you can't see the whole picture without metals, aggro, crypto? Well, that's what your market analyzer is for, my friend. Down in the lower right. So what do we got going? Well, the biggest winner this morning is silver at 3.6%. And the biggest loser, ZB, minus 0.48. Followed closely by the British pound and wheat. So basically, like, the whole treasury complex is getting hammered. And the equities... Well, I mean, this is since the extended session, so... You know. I kind of think with the play that we're making is as much a mean reversion play than anything else. Because all of our flow factors say sell, but then there's also we were up big overnight, so... At least we're up big relative to what volatility was pricing. If NQ doesn't approach its current low, I would start to worry. Well, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to let it hit the stop. If it hits the stop, it hits the stop. The thing I'm worried about is how long is it going to take? Are we going to... It's be a whole nother hour. We'll give it another hour. Will it still be in this place? And then we have to end the stream and we don't get to, and you guys don't get to see how it turns out. And I eventually do maybe it doesn't reach either side during the day, and so I just have to close it at the end of the session, and then you're like, okay, sure, Seth, that's what you did because you didn't get to see it live. I hate it when that happens. As I'm watching this, I'm also kind of wondering if I had the the power meter for ES up, would it be giving me the similar numbers? Or is there maybe a divergence between ES and NQ? I would say that this latest buy impulse seems a little bit bigger than the last buy impulse. It'll be somewhere else probably at that point, good or bad. But then again, that's how range days always get us. They always look so attractive in both directions. You might have a point that, like, maybe it truly is just not going to do anything, and I'm exactly in the middle. That's a real possibility. Yeah, you know, I'm not very well calibrated on, like, you know, how much NQ tends to move and that sort of a thing to see how significant these moves really are. I can only look at them in relation to volatility and say, okay, well, on volatility, that's pretty good. Might move this to, like, there-ish. 992. Because the regular session -1 sigma is down there. So it'll probably go past the extended session sigma and go to the regular. Actually, can I just clear the data? Yeah, then you see it. I don't know. I mean, as long as it's, you know, there's another thing when it's like favorable excursion versus unfavorable excursion. What if it was amount of time spent in profit versus amount of time spent in loss, right? So for every minute, well, when it goes positive, I start a timer, and then when it goes negative, I stop that timer and I start another timer. And then you see, you know, of the 45 minutes that I was in, I spent 30 minutes in a non-profitable position and 15 minutes in a profitable position. That would be interesting. Because one of the things that I see a lot of is these people will get into, you know, these trades where they allow it to go against them for a really long time. And then if there's any kind of favorable, they take the profit. Like, they'd be in this one already, and, you know, it was against us for a long time, and then they just take the small profit. And you're like, was that actually a good trade? I don't think it was. But if you were in a trade where it was like, you know, it was profitable for most of the time of the position, and then something just kind of happened at the very end that stopped you out, you know, maybe I should still consider that a success. Like that is a false positive, essentially, right? Like, it worked, but it didn't quite get there because some other factor came in beyond what you were looking at. Like, you're looking at the flows and predicting the flows, and then Donald Trump tweeted something, and that's what screwed the position over, right? And you'd be able to see that with the amount of time that you've been in the position rather than just MFEME. You have to prove order flow works not only for treasuries. Oh, I don't know if this proves that order flow works for none. I mean, the thing that's so weird is, what is order flow? Is what I'm doing over here in NQ actually order flow? Like, flow factor, I feel like flow factor trading is order flow adjacent, but I'm not doing anything like what most order flow traders are doing when they're looking at, like, a footprint chart and whatnot. You know, like if order flow was defined by what footprint chart traders do, then I would say it doesn't work. Yeah, they're so close to a new low there, and they just not going for it. Seems like some people are loading longs at the top of the tower. It kind of feels like that this is like, okay, what, so is this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So let's say 320 ticks. It seems like 320 ticks for the NQ is not that big of a deal. I don't know if that's enough to like really create trapped traders kind of situations. Normal Tuesday for NQ. Yeah. I think you could argue in here that we were expecting mean reversion flows and we did get them, and that's just as far as it goes off of that. And that I'm expecting targets based on volatility that aren't realistic for a mean reversion flow. That might be the end conclusion. Okay, so the new squawk is just talking about those tankers that turned around in the Red Sea because of Houthi threats. So that was something that a little bit earlier kind of caused some movement, maybe. But again, is that affecting the equity market much? So far, no. What? So I'm coming over here looking, is there any kind of new stories or headlines on Zero Hedge or Axios? We should check Axios too. What they're talking about this morning. Better maybe interesting. Well, the most recent story I see on Zero Hedge is most adults can safely drink up to 5 cups of coffee a day. What? From the American Heart Association? Are you kidding me? There is no way that drinking 5 cups of coffee a day is good for you. Are you kidding me? What? That's a crazy headline to me. Battle for the future of AI, open source models 101. Oh man, I'd almost totally forgot about that. That's another, well, I mean, we did kind of mention the AI trait, but I'm really wondering how can the foundation like OpenAI and Anthropic really make the amount of money that they need to make if open source models become popular. Like, forget about the fact that China is basically stealing from Anthropic by distilling their models. Like, they go and they create tons of fake accounts and have them all send queries and see what it comes back with and use that as training data so that they can get close to the same weighting. Forget about that, because if you did that in the United States, I think that they could maybe say that that's illegal. But if you end up with open source models that are almost as effective, people are just going to use those. It's silly, but Zero Hedge has fallen. They just kind of are posting crap these days. I don't know. Do they really have that much content to work with right now? You know, it's just the Strait of Hormuz all the time, and do we really get good information on that? Not really. You know, I'm sure that next financial crisis that happens, he'll be like, oh, I wish I was reading Zero, because they totally called it. And well, they're always looking. You know what I don't like about Zero Hedge is they very much are aware of, well, people pay more attention if it's bad news, and they post the content that's going to get them the views, and not necessarily the content that's going to help you the most as a trader, right? But you still get the information that's useful as a trader. I haven't had one read a report that really changed the game for me or anything, but they still post good stuff. I'm not quitting my subscription anytime soon, we'll put it that way. I guess let me try that one again. Paul says it's silly, but darn, Zero Hedge has fallen. They just kind of be posting crap these days. Well, was Zero Hedge ever that good? Like, in some respects, it's an essential tool. Like, I pay for the subscription and everything, but I think the website has always had problems. Thank you. Back at the 100 range still matters. If it gets through, might as well just ride it all day and chase it with a stop. You know what? This has been like the longest 5 minutes ever. Because I remember 5 minutes ago talking about, well, maybe it's too rangy. And we are getting the mean reversion, but that's just as far as it can go on mean reversion. And the further move that I'm looking for isn't going to happen. And I was saying that kind of worried that, like, will we see the resolution of this before I have to end the stream? But now it's like, well, it's only been 5 minutes, so maybe we will. Maybe we do have enough time. You enjoy it? You know, I really like it. I think some of the best times are the ones where it's like time slows down. Like, have you ever been watching a movie and it's like, man, I feel like I've been watching this movie for like 5 hours, but then actually it's only a 90-minute movie? I love that. That means you're really into the movie, I think. I bet you there's some science on that, but I don't know anything about it. It's like how much you're enjoying something can change the perception of time. And if you're enjoying something and their perception of time gets extended out, you're really in the zone, you know? oh, there it goes. Did they touch a new low? Oh, actually, no, there's something weird going on here because the NASDAQ touched a new low. The S&P 500 isn't anywhere close to their low. The treasuries are kind of doing some mean reversion. So I was expecting them to rebalance around 19.5. Well, we did have about 50,000 contracts go through there, which is a lot. But I would have expected it to stay down there in that area for much longer. So, are you getting a counterflow? It doesn't look like it. So probably what's likely to happen is you're going to get this bounce, and treasuries might revisit 19.5 a few times. Also, remember when I pointed out that the dollar was at a key spot based on volatility? And what happened? They turned around exactly at that spot. And in fact, they're doing a head and shoulders kind of a pattern at the moment. But whatever's going on over there in the dollar, well, so when the dollar peaked there, the treasuries stopped. But I'm not really seeing any correlation with the equities. What I am seeing, though, is that the Japanese yen continues to fall. Novo sues Eli Lilly over nationwide deceptive advertising campaign. Domino's U.S. sale growth hits 5-quarter low as budget diners pull back. So I always feel like, sometimes I'm like, am I actually the whole economy? Because like whatever I'm getting into is like what's doing well, and whatever I got out of, stopped buying is doing poorly. Like I used to love going to Bed Bath and Beyond, and then I moved and there's just not one there anymore, and then all of a sudden they're in bankruptcy. Yeah. was thinking about buying pizza on Friday, and then I decided, nah, we don't need to do that. So I didn't do it. And what do you know? I'm like half their sales because they've hit a 5-quarter low. All right, here's another low here. Come on, let's do this. And the S&P is still quite a ways away from its lows, but it's following it this time at least. I just want to see like the stop run. I don't know if I'm going to get one today. You know what I mean? I wonder. Right here, I'm thinking, well, you could sell it at the 80 and get it at the 72. No, I don't think that's a good play. It would mark much better if you were buying there, but then you're against the trend and the flow and the flow factors. Okay, there's a new low. Oh, you see, like no stop run, no acceleration. Yeah, maybe we just need to be more patient. Like if the S&P 500 decides to try and catch up, then maybe we could get a really good downtrend, huh? That does give me more favorable excursion than adverse excursion, doesn't it? Yeah, 415 versus 314. I'm kind of wondering here though if what I should do with my take profit. If I should just take the straight profit, or if I should try and let it run a little bit more. I'm 50-50 on the profit or write it. Yeah, let's think about this a little bit more. Come over here. Right, I'm getting those numbers because of like where we're at. So, that's 1 sigma. We had a 2 sigma move up overnight. So for me to want to hold it and like let it ride, I have to be betting that they're going to completely erase all of the overnight gains. Well, I think that we've got some flow factors to the downside that could, especially when you start to get the negative gamma involved, could exacerbate the move. But I don't think that I have enough to be placing a bet that confident. So I do think that when I get to the 93 or whatever the closest is there, which is basically where I have it right now, 28,992, if not 2,900, that I should take it off. Yeah. It's kind of interesting. I've never really held the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 up next to each other like that, the NASDAQ really looks like it's in a pretty consistent downtrend. And you're just not quite seeing the same thing in the S&P 500. Right? It's not quite the same thing. They're very different. And I don't watch them very carefully, but I've never noticed that much of a divergence between them before. Oh, you know what? I totally forgot about how I wanted to reopen my trading platform because it was like the little small window wasn't popping up. Confirmed profits are a cool hardcore creature on its own. Would be more secure if you had to and just took one off. Yeah, that is the advantage of multiple contracts, huh? Oh, I see what's going on here. I have a one chart like I made it too small, and that's why I wasn't showing it. Oh, cool. It's got the session break now. That's Spoos. We should change that to NQ. There we go. By the way, I totally forgot about the opening range thing where we had somebody earlier pop in that said hi that was an opening range guy. So is the play go short now on the opening range break to the downside? I hope. I don't know, a retail trading setup kind of working is kind of like has me like, oh, I don't want to be in the trade anymore. Retail traders have been buying since the top. I don't know. I mean, I don't have the little thing in Ninja Trader that shows you like, are most Ninja Trader users long or short right now? But I'm gonna bet you that they're short. I would be surprised if it differed too much from the balance in the cumulative delta. Right. Oh, you know, this is a flow that I in factor. Futures jump as chip makers surge after Japan and Korea bounce. So is Japan bouncing maybe also why the yen is falling? I think that puts the flows in a little bit better perspective. That doesn't mean that we can't get our target, but that better explains why the index is up so much overnight. Man, how many times have I had it come back to the entry, by the way? So this is where I would say, like, the time profitable versus time unprofitable would kind of be a more interesting metric on this trade, huh? The treasuries recovered pretty good there too, by the way. Like, I'm thinking this selling that came through in the treasuries was probably more, what do they call it? Degrossing, you know? Like somebody that's hurting from the Japanese yen falling and they had to sell treasuries to fix it. Because once it was done, now it's been able to come back pretty hard. There was, though, pretty strong buying in ZB and flattener across the curve. Well, what do we got on Axios? The rise of white-only heritage communities. Oh boy, is that a thing, huh? I'm not touch that one. Trump hosts Lebanon's president as Israel begins first pullback. Iran mediators push new ceasefires. Trump eyes all-out war. That was yesterday's headline. Senate watches the House on Reconciliation 3.0. U.S. will slap 50% tariffs on Canadian goods, deepening North American trade war. It's like they're maybe going to test those lows again. We'll see. When you look at it on a 1-minute chart, see there's like double bottom, higher high. So the price action traders might be flipping long. I'm kind of not happy about that latest decline. Though it's not too much, so it may yet come back. And then they'll be like, see, told you, it totally works, Seth. Seems like my DOM over here is a little slow. What's with that? Guess it's just the tick aggregation. Just check our process utilization real quick. And day traders fighting hard. They're actually using a lot of CPU. I guess NQ is rough on it, right? Maybe I shouldn't have a price ladder for NQ and ES both open. I think someone had a stop up at the top. It blipped up to the highest price and only traded by 1, and it looks like at the top. Poor guy. I've had that happen to me many a time, huh? But I don't know. I think this is kind of one of the advantages of looking at the volatility levels and focusing on those. Is you kind of start to realize, most of this stuff that happens in between is just games. And putting your stop based on those is not very wise. So is how much is the differences here? 6 plus 9, 15, 15,000 difference in NQ, decline in cumulative delta. Significant, because I feel like that's a lot for us to still be at break even. It always bugs me. I judge some creators by their lack of ever considering that every single new big trade isn't always a new big boss trade. Sometimes it's the end of a medium thing in the past. Yeah. Like, I really think that most things are noise. I think most is noise. I think that we had this initial sell. We had like a jump and this initial sell. And everything else since then has just kind of been noise. There hasn't been like a really decisive flow come through. So I don't know if maybe I'm playing it wrong from the volatility perspective, because we got some good excursion. Well, look, we got 30 minutes left. I guess we can let it ride for 30 minutes more. It kind of looks like the S&P 500 wants to test the highs, so we'll see what happens there. Oh, this should be fun. On r/day trading, I genuinely don't believe even 1% of the people in this sub are profitable. Yeah, I see posts all the time. People commenting like they've figured it out. They made this special indicator that prints money for them, or they have this super intuition and just trade blindfolded. I generally don't think even 1% of people here are actually profitable. I've been learning and trading, testing different systems over 3 to 4 years now, gone through basically almost every strategy and indicator you can think of, even did some time with 0 indicators. There's just no edge in the system. Market makers have not already patched out of the system. Well, listen, you can make money. So the first thing is that, hey, I bet you that almost everything that you did was from the technical side, huh? Like the way that this guy talks, he's talking about trading systems and indicators, right? Did you try just reading the news and predicting which flows will come into the market based on that? But I think he's probably right. But the problem is that the market is very, very good at fooling people, right? Like, we've been doing this one ticker trade. Well, there's been a couple of spots in here today where I think I could have taken that one. So maybe we would have extended that even further today. That doesn't prove that the strategy works. 2 weeks of it going well is not proof that the strategy works. Passing a combine with it does not prove that it works. Yeah, retail traders are taught to avoid the news, not trade it or trade from it. I really like the flow factor framework, though. I'm gonna make a video about that. I really hope that makes a difference for people. That helps them realize that people have had a myopic view of trading. That's really what it is for me. Is that they're looking at stuff that doesn't really matter and ignoring all the things that do matter, and not realizing how much room there is to try and build an edge. Well, by the way, the S&P 500 did extend. And as far as I can tell, they've still got room. So that's kind of interesting. So that's maybe another thing that would maybe screw this trade up, and I need to look at a little bit, is that I kind of just assumed that the NASDAQ and the S&P 500 would be looking at the same places. So they're pretty close. But it's not even close. S&P is 75.54. So another 20 points up until they get to their first sigma from the overnight session. So the NQ is the one that really jumped overnight. You can see like NQ up 1.5%, ES only up 0.66%. So really it was tech that moved up. So very interesting. So it is not just you can't really rely on this because they're so different. No, today is an anomaly. Tech vastly outperformed the rest of the market today. Here they go. They're gonna try and stop me out again. I think that's gonna be a pretty disappointing bummer. Make the day a bummer if they stop me out. Because it's been fun watching this, man. And I think overall, I think I had the call correctly. It's just maybe I was wrong by magnitude. Right? Although I don't know about this, the S&P 500 just buying out like crazy here is that's a little odd to me. I'm curious what flows are driving that. In NQ, the balance is still negative. Oh, so here's another one from Reddit. I hate it when people say this. There is no perfect strategy. All the strategies are good. No. Most strategies are bad. Most strategies lose money. They all look good on a short time frame. Short enough, like you're only looking at a little bit of data. But when you get enough data, you'll see almost all strategies fail. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, he is criticizing this. That's what they tell you, but you don't need a perfect strategy. All you need is a profitable strategy. 99% don't have it. And the worst is that they don't even try to develop because they were brainwashed into believing that the strategy is not the problem. The mindset is to blame. They're constantly told that strategies work and that people simply ruin them because of psychology. This belief is the greatest profitability killer. People waste years improving their mindset while they simply use a losing strategy. The fact is, when you get a profitable strategy that you trust, a miracle happens. All of the psychology disappears. When you understand that this psychology thing is just a convenient excuse, you start searching for and developing a profitable strategy of your own. You start doing what pros do, testing lots of ideas with statistical significance. And then you get to see that those good strategies that you were recommended online simply don't work. You were the product that brought profits to YouTubers, website owners, and book authors, and then finally, after hundreds of tests and tweaks, you finally go to find something that actually works. Or you don't, depends on how obsessive you are, but there's no other way. I guess I'll upvote him. I will begrudgingly click the upvote button. I feel baited, but treasuries are coming back down here. Oh man, NQ is chomping at the bit, man. It's coming up. Oh, and look, the dollar shot back up there too. That's interesting. So is this happening as the dollar rises? And what's happening in the yen? The yen is continuing to fall. And oil is continuing to move up. Oil is at 85. Ooh. Okay, how high does oil need to get today before the equities start puking from it, you know? This is interesting. Oh, this is interesting. Like, I don't know. On one hand, I'm kind of like, yeah, we mean reversion. We kind of got a little bit of it. And maybe most of what we're looking at is noise. But then I'm also looking at it like, yeah, but the Japanese yen and oil and like there is something happening here. Sometimes, though, things happen and the markets don't really move as much as they should. $85.45. Well, so far they've kind of had a hard time staying above 85 in oil. So oh, it starts major gamma up there. Okay. Dude, that's what I should have made my YouTube name, Major Gamma. That's a pretty boss nickname. Something dorky like Speculator Seth. So I'm kind of hoping that the S&P has had pivot. The Nasdaq is still kind of looking a little bit like, I'm hoping that if because that was a pretty good buy push, it really was. But if that buy push is not able to get above the opening range high, then this thing could collapse back down pretty quick, I think. I don't think that I should automatically assume that means that they're going to go and bust the opening range low again. But, at the very least, it might come back to the middle here. Let's see what happens. He's still got 20 minutes for this to work. Maybe this time you might lock some profits in. Yeah, well, let's give it another 10 minutes. But yeah, if we're in a decent profit in 10 minutes, I might have to say, well, let's just take it. Because I would rather take it off during stream than like have it sitting there in the back of my mind while I'm working. I don't like that. So and then plus if it does reach it and I like take it off there, like I don't have any evidence that I did that, so like who cares? Another thing that I'm thinking about a little bit is like, what if I had just waited, and when they were buying up like at the open, I had taken the short then? Maybe it would have been a different story. I had a slightly better position. Employees stock options as the remedy for wealth disparity, Mark Cuban suggests. No, it's the reason for the wealth disparity. Don't you understand? The people that work for the corporations, and especially the corporations that have really made money, like Apple and Nvidia, etc., 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 those are the ones that have all of the wealth and are fabulously wealthy. And everybody else that doesn't work for a big company and doesn't get stock are just the average, right? Like this, the whole thing is that basically all of the wealth has come from stock market growth. Okay, so the NASDAQ has decided that they're not done. So I wonder if there's 0 day to expiration options pushing here. Because they seem to be trying really hard, aren't they? And I'm not seeing anything that really suggests to me like a stronger institutional flow. So like retail traders trying to push it to highs, I think is as good of a theory as any. Yeah, and ES is definitely trying to move higher, isn't it? Yeah. But they're kind of like the pivot. When I say pivot, that's where like you get enough bars to the downside, and then you say, oh, this was the high, and you put a little dot there, and your price action swing indicator draws a new line, right? So there was a potential pivot there. It's much more clear in ES than it is in NQ. And in NQ, this current 5-minute bar was actually quite negative at one point, and it's now turning into a hammer. Yep, it became a hammer. So a lot of technical analysis will suggest that that's a very bullish sign. Even though the order flow is still negative. While it's coming so close. No, don't do it. Don't do it, no. Does that put me at equal favorable and unfavorable? 2240. Almost. Let's put it right there. So that I get clean numbers. If it stops out, I get clean numbers. So that's kind of interesting, though. How did I end up getting in exactly the middle? When did I do it? At 7 o'clock? That is kind of weird. Right there. Yeah, almost exactly the middle. Next time it will be, well, I mean, it depends on how you guys want to play it, right? I was trying to have my stops and targets based on the major volatility levels that we were going for. What I am realizing is that if you're going for that, you might be in a position for a really long time. And so that might not be realistic for the amount of time that we're here on the stream. So we could look at a different way to try and estimate it. Like we could say instead of looking for the exact volatility level, we could instead say, let's make our profit be a certain percent of this. So like, it's telling me the volatility number is 902 ticks. So like we could say, 902 times 0.25, 225. Okay, so there was a headline about something in Kuwait. Is oil shooting there? No, oil is coming down. Ooh, what was the headline? Oh. Oh, that's interesting. Still drives me crazy how I can see the blacks on your screen fluctuating and doing bitrate color accuracy loss stuff. Why do I see those? Is your GPU unable to handle the load? What do you mean by that? You can see the blacks on your screen. Oh, it might be you might just have it on a low bit rate. You probably just have it on a low bit rate. So I pulled the stream up over here. And I come in here and I change the quality to like 144p so that it's really, really low. And you might get some odd glitches from time to time. Like, you know, because I'm not seeing it on my side. Yeah, is my max 1080? Yeah. Man, I mean, it looks so clear to me in 1080. Hey, Steph, how's it going? So, the way that video codecs work is kind of weird. So, what happens is there's a keyframe, and the keyframe is like a PNG of the screen, right? And then all of the frames after that keyframe are only show or only count what has changed from that keyframe, and that's kind of how they compress, right? So you just see the changes from that. So you can kind of get this weird glitchy behavior where, like, say it ticks down, right, and that's different from the keyframe, but the compression is bad, or it missed the keyframe or something like that. And then you get what we call data moshing, where you have this little section that's updated when the rest of it hasn't, and that sort of a thing. So there's kind of these strange compression artifacts that you can get like that. But I'm not sure why you'd be seeing that sort of thing with the stream. Because, I mean, it looks fine on my side. I don't know. How does that work? We're testing our licensing system. Yeah. I don't know. So I forget what Steph's name in Discord is. Is it Ann Steffa? I don't remember. I thought it was something else. Oh, it is Ann Steffa. Okay. So then if I think out loud, you hear what I'm saying. You should be able to go into, like connect to your other internet connection and press activate and try it again, and it will send another request. But then you might be like, oh, but if I press activate and it fails, then I might not be able to connect to data again, right? But I don't actually know what will happen in that situation, because if you've activated successfully, it gives you like a grace period. It says like, oh, if there's an intermittent problem with connecting the licensing server, I won't kick you out immediately. I'll give you a few days for you to be able to successfully connect to the licensing server after that, right? So that's what you should do is don't open the thing up and click activate again. Just close the GUI and open it back up. And then you'll see in the log if it was able to successfully activate or not. And it will still work, at least for 5 days or whatever the grace period is. I'll type that too if it wasn't clear. So now that I'm done thinking about that, what have we had happen? Well, the NASDAQ tested the opening range high and they peaked over it just enough to get a few stop orders, I guess. And then they fell back in. And you're getting a bearish bar, but nothing too crazy. This makes it difficult. I guess I'm just going to leave it on, guys. I know that I've been saying I don't want to do this and blah, 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 but I'm going to leave it on. I'm going to let either the stop or the target hit and see what happens. It's an experimental trade. I don't know if it was worth it. I sure did find the whole situation and what has happened in the market compelling. But in the end, it looks like that during our session, we haven't gotten enough flows to really push it as far as I wanted it to go. So, I don't know. If we want to play with a swing trade, sort of a thing like that, I think that I need to, one, create another account so that I can have like 2 experimental things going on at the same time and make it easier in Journalytics to separate them out, right? And maybe even like separate DOMs or something like that, so that when I'm in the swing, it's still easy for me to do the little 1-tick one, because that's been going so well, and I want to keep looking at that and see how that goes. So I think that part of the reason that's been doing so well is maybe partly a function of this market regime, you know? What do you got a picture of here, Steph? Oh man, why is it white? Oh, yeah, it failed. Okay, interesting. Okay, so it still fails on your regular internet connection, but it passes when you use your cell. That's so incredibly interesting. But let's now go and look at the... Oh, you can't select and copy the logs? Really? Oh, you're right. Oh, we should change that. I will change that. There is a text log too, though. There's a text log, and the text log has even more stuff in it. So, because I don't think that I turned off the developer tracing log. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna take a few more minutes to do this while we got you. But the way that you tested it, Steph, is also interesting because it sounds to me like you tethered your computer to your phone, yeah? So that kind of rules out that it was like virus software on your phone. It is something with your internet provider. I wonder where and what the disconnect. Yeah. Well, so here's the weird thing about it, Paul, is that he is sending the request. Like it's the DNS and all that stuff is working. It sends the request, and then it says that the connection gets reset. And he never gets the TLS response. And on my side, I can't really see. So let's see what it says now. Okay, I found 4 successful validations today, 0 failures. Oh. That's really interesting. So I did not expect that. I expected it to say, well, somebody tried to authenticate, but then the connection got dropped before we sent a response or something like that. But Claude at least seems to think that it successfully activated and sent the activation back, and that it just didn't make it to him. Click. Why am I like, should I be looking at? Okay, so the NASDAQ has kind of come back to the lower end of its range, but hasn't broken out of its range and back into like my break-even area. Security issues with data types and such matter too. You can sometimes open a website on a phone faster than you ever could on a supercomputer with NASA speed, which is illogical. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so what does it say here? Oh, it's a ton. I'm not going to read that all to you guys. Error log is empty. The German user's cell phone success is in the log. One of these 4 200s is a successful validation over his mobile connection. Clean TLS 1.3. And what was this last one? 145408. That was probably the last one. You'll know from the timing which one was him on the cellular versus your own lodges. The 2 attempts for a few minutes apart near, the local ISP failure is nowhere in the log, and that's the proof. When his connection reset over his home internet, it produced no access log entry, no handshake error. If his traffic had reached us, we'd reject it. We'd see either a failed access line or a TLS error. We see neither. His client hello never arrived at our infrastructure. It was reset upstream in its own path before it ever got to us. Well, it only cares about whether it's us or him. I think it is him. But like, I can't be having customers regularly having issues with that, right? Like, I've got to figure out why is his particular ISP not like it, so that I can figure out what I've got to do to make it so that that doesn't happen to anybody else. It says signature of local HTTPS inspecting security software. So it could be something on your router, as I guess what it's trying to say. Let me... Is it going to go? Well, okay, so it fell out of the range at least. Kind of-ish fell out of the range. This is going to be a long road. I think, you know, maybe it could run all the way, but it might just take until the afternoon. So I'm going to have to, like, not focus on it. Do you have ad blockers going, or DNS level ad blocking? Or perhaps the connections aren't allowing them to go through, reading them as trackers or something. Yeah. By the way, Apol, what data are you using? Are you just using Ninja? Oh, are you CR charts? You're CR charts, aren't you? Yeah, I don't think so. Wonder, it's not possible to work with CR chart data, is it? No, I have nothing special. Yeah, it's got to be something the ISP is doing, huh? Man, they're ramping it back up. It's like it's not. This is, I've never quite seen. Oh, I don't know. I don't pay attention to equity markets this much, so it's been a while since I've seen something try so hard to bust something that probably shouldn't get busted. Like this thing is like, if they ramp it, they might stop me out, but I don't really think that there's a whole lot of further upside available. So I might have the exact area wrong, but that's where, again, like, it would be way better to be like short here and then have, you know, my stop all the way up here or something like that. But nope, it's gonna keep trying. I should get going. I'm gonna keep trying to debug this. So keep an eye on your Discord stuff, and we'll see if I get any other ideas. Oh, you use Rhythmic? Well, why don't you message me on Discord so that you can try it? Good grief. Then you can, because, you know, you understand the networking side of it a little bit. It would be interesting to see if we do it for you and yours also fails, and then if you can figure out why. But I bet you it won't be that easy. I bet you that it will just work for you and be like, okay. Okay. But I'm going to get going. I'll see you guys tomorrow.